channel in the Tech Slams playlist and also in the Seesaw playlist. So if there's something you hear today, you can go back and rewatch it if there's a part that you want to like remember how they did. So thanks again, you guys, for joining us and for sharing your expertise with us. So take it away.
All right. So I'm Ellie, and Ellie and I have been using Seesaw in our classroom for about the past 3 years. Very simple in the beginning, but now that we got into distance learning, we kind of amped up the kind of activities that we've been using with our kids. So we're going to share just a couple little tools, tidbits, things that will make your lessons a little more interactive, maybe a little more interesting to look at and more engaging for your students and for yourself as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the present mode. So I can share my window. And then any questions you have, you can easily put them on the chat side, and then Emily can help answer them as we're going along. So let's see. Do you see the Seesaw page?
Yeah, I see your library. Yep.
Okay. So I'm in my library, and I was going to go through an example here. This one was a phonics activity on letter sounds, and when you're typing up your instructions, there are some Seesaw codes that you can use to include some of these images, like the drag or the microphone or the pencil. And we're going to include that for you in a sheet with as a shortcuts that you can use when you're creating these instructions. Obviously, putting your voice into it is big. And, read out your instructions to your students, especially if you have younger kids. We teach second grade, so we have some students who may not be reading. So we put in our voice instructions as well. We try to maximize the amount of images. Sometimes we also use clip art or other things that we might be, or emojis that we in order to add to our instructions. I'm going to go into the lesson. So I'm actually going to act like I'm going to edit it. And then 2 places that you can add further instructions. It could be in the multimedia, and later on Emily will go in a little further into how you can add videos or links into that. And then you could also add it to your actual presentation or your actual lessons activities. So like I said before, we use a lot of cards and a lot of emojis and things. Like here, we usually point to the microphone because we want our kids to record their voice as they're reading the words in this activity, for instance, or in any other activity you want them to be reading to you. Including here, this is another spot where I usually, for my non-readers, I will add whatever's on the screen, whether it's a question or any other text. I will click on here and I will record it for them. When they are actually doing the activity, they click and they just hear the message that I recorded. In this activity, they were moving items. In this case, I chose rocks. Oops. I chose rocks, and either had to move them to the girasoles, which is with the G sound, with the letter G that is, or if they had the J for the Jacinto, they had to move it to the J's, to the where the Jacinto. So this activity, what I wanted to show was how to create these movable pieces. Google Slides will be a big thing where you can go and create items for your lesson. So I'm going to go to Google Slides. So all I did was I imported a picture of a rock, and then I typed the word on top of the rock. Then in order to get that to become a movable item, I take a screenshot of it. Let's hit new here. And now I have a picture of my rock, but you still have, when you take the picture, you're going to have the background of it will still be whatever color you have. In this case, it was white. So in order to get rid of that, there's another tool that I like to use, and I'm going to just put it in here. It's called Remove PG. It's a free, it's 100% free. You just upload whatever image that you may have taken a picture of, and actually, so I'm gonna do that one more time. And then when you actually, I didn't save it. Try that one more time. There we go. Let me hit save, and it'll save it onto, obviously, to your desktop. Now that I'm in Remove VG, I can upload an image. I'm going to pick that rock image that I had on there. And then when it saves it, it'll take away whatever color you have in the background. So in this case, it'll take away my white. And now I can actually have just that rock image. And then I can download it. And when you go into Seesaw, you will be able to just go into upload images. You'll find it in your downloads file. And right now it says it has nothing in there. There it is. It's in your downloads. And now you have your image. So that's one way to, and you can see the flowers and all that other stuff, the things that I've actually done, that exact same thing. I found things, moved the background, and I put it into my activity or my lesson so that just to make it like a little more interesting, and you get to have a little more pieces into your lesson. Another, in this actual lesson too that we had, there was this search and find. Basically, there's a flashlight, and that was just a clip art image that I found. And what I had the kids doing is I'm having them look for the word and which one is spelled correctly. So when they find the one that's spelled correctly, they can put an X on the box. In order to do that one, I'm going to do it in a new page. It's all about layering. So I'm going to put in a box, and it can be obviously any shape that you want, any color. The key thing will be is making your text and your shape or box that you're using the exact same color. So sometimes that gets a little tricky. I usually tend to go for black just because it's a lot easier to get the text to match exactly. But I did it earlier with the blue, and it did work. There we go. All right, now I'm going to just, since I already have my flashlight here, I'm just copy and paste it. And you can use, it doesn't have to be a flashlight. You can use like a yellow dot or something. Now, when I come and bring my light over the box, you do not see the word because you have to bring the word to the top. So that's why I said it's all about layering. So I'm going to click on where my word was, click on the little dots, and you see here the word order. You bring it to the front. So now when I bring my flashlight over it, you can see the text because it's been layered to come to the top. So we've used this in with literacy activities. I don't think I've used it in math, but it's just a matter of like figuring out how to get creative and what can you do a little different just to make it, your kids have to come in, they have to actually click on the flashlight or whatever you're using, and you have to like search and find. We did do it with another activity where it was like a night scene, so everything was black. And then they had to hunt and look for the animals. And then they had to check off on the list the ones that they found. And then they had to write about what their favorite animal was. So these are just these are just a couple ways that you can, I'm going to just just to make your lessons just a little different, a little more engaging, a little more entertaining. Another one that I did want to share was this week we had, or for next week, we had the standard was measuring. And at first I was like, how am I going to do something with measuring when I'm not sure if all my kids have rulers or measuring tapes in their homes? So I had created a lesson, and I have to go back to my library, to the math, where they were actually reviewing their units of measurements. And another this is another thing I can showcase here, is your mini lessons. So you can see here's like a little play arrow. I had this lesson I created in Google Slides. There was a few, like about 13 slide pages on there. So I decided just to do the mini lesson within the activities pages. So right here it says template attached. My first page is actually talking about reviewing with them what does it mean to estimate and what does it mean to measure. And I'm just going to play just a little, just because I wanted you to see that, like, even within here, you can move things around. So in the beginning, you can see right there, you have that little arrow key, use it. Point things out to your students. So, what do you want them to see? What do you want them to take note of? A little bit further, you can see here my ruler is when I started to move it around. There it goes. So that was in the lesson, right in the beginning, I was showing them you're gonna have to pick, at some point, you're gonna have to pick up your ruler, you're going to have to measure an item. And I'm going to scroll down just to one of the pages where that is up there. Right here, and like I said, we usually use a lot of this is just a little clip of the actual hand that was down here. I put it here so that they know that they're going to have to use that ruler. And here's another clip art, which is pointing to this where the quotation mark, so they can click on here. They can hear me saying what it is that's on my page, what they need to do. So when they're doing the activity, now I know that they can pick up this ruler, they can measure what happens to be in inches, and they can report to me how many inches it actually is. And then that whole thing of like, how are they going to measure, and this is an activity that if you were in a classroom, they would have an actual manipulative with them to use an actual ruler. So this is, the next best thing. You have a virtual ruler and you can actually continue with your measuring activities. Let's see. So those are just some of the things that I wanted to share about that. Let's see. And then I think I'm going to let Emily take it away with going now back into where else you can do mini lessons and where else you might be able to put them into your activities.
Okay, so let me go into present. I'm going to start with the choice boards. So another way that you can load something to that multimedia part, so not the student template, but that multimedia part. And if you want your students to go to multiple places with different links, you can link them all in one spot. So this is an example of a choice board that I made for a 3-day STEM assignment that I created, where the students had to use whatever they could find in their house to build a tower. And day 1, they only had 3 minutes. Day 2, they had 2 minutes. Day 1, they had 1 minute. And I made a video of myself showing them how to do it, and then also how to measure their tower using their finger or their hand or their arm. So I just made this on Google Slide, and I used my Bitmoji. I've been using that a lot just to make it seem like I'm there with them. And when they click on the Bitmoji, that actually is a link to my YouTube video. And then over here is a link to the timer that I wanted them to use, so I know they're all following by the 3, 2, 1 minute rule. And then again, I use the little finger to show where they need to click. And I labeled click here first, number 1, click here next, number 2. So you could do links to different places within a choice board. This is another one I created where it was another 3-day activity where they were looking at animal habitats. And I took a screenshot of each book I wanted them to choose from Pebble Go, and then each one of these books, the screenshot is actually a link to that book. So they could, day 1, they could pick ocean animals. Day 2, they could pick woodland animals. And then day 3, they had to do a compare contrast. This is another example where they have to watch a video on dinosaurs for one of the science activities. So I actually took a screenshot of it and put it on a TV, and then that's the actual link. So it looks like they're watching it on TV. And then this is another one I did where it's another one with our science dinosaur mystery science. If it'll load. There is a link to the video that they need to see. If it'll load, there we go. So again, there's my Bitmoji looking like I'm a dinosaur excavator. This is the screenshot of the video to go to Mystery Science, and then I took a screenshot of where I want them to stop because this is the worksheet they have to do, and I wanted them to do the worksheet in the student template. So I'm going to show you now how to upload this so the links are actually able to work. I'm going to go back to this one because I did that one this morning. So you're going to go to File, Publish to Web, and you're going to click Publish, hit OK. Yes, it's OK to publish. And then you're going to want to copy this link. And then when you go into Seesaw, you're going to add this to that multimedia instruction example. But this is where you really need to make sure you click the right buttons, otherwise the links are not going to work. So you're going to add it as a link. You're going to paste it in, hit that green check mark, and then it highlights add to file in blue, so you're going to want to click that, but don't click that. It's not going to work. What that does is it adds the actual Google slide instead of making it as a presentation, and then the kids are going to need permission to access it. So what you're going to want to do is hit continue, and then it'll upload it as if it was in presentation mode, and all of the links will work and it'll be clickable, and then they can go to where they need to go. So this is what it's going to look like when the students click on it. On the bottom here, you could record yourself talking about it, and you could also put a caption if you wanted, and then they can click on wherever you want them to go to all the different places. So that's another spot. If you want them to go to multiple places for your lesson, you can make a choice board like that. The other thing I wanted to show you is another type of lesson that Ellie and I have been using to make it a little bit more engaging for our students. So Ellie showed you the flashlight lesson. This one makes it kind of like a scratch card lesson. So this was a sentence building lesson I created where there's multiple slides, and I made this desk background just by using a clip art just to make it look like they're working at a desk, and I added the pencil and the erasers. The important part here is you make your shapes where you want them to eventually scratch off, and you'll see that when I upload this to Seesaw. I wrote the words in the middle of the shape. Make sure the line is thick because it'll make it easier to color in. And like I said, this will all make sense in a second. So you're going to make your shapes that you want them to scratch away, put the word or the math problem or however you want to use this in the middle. And then when you go to Seesaw to create this, I'm going to put this in the template for the student responses. I'm going to upload it. The nice thing about Seesaw is if you're uploading a Google slide, it will automatically put one slide on each page for you. You can only have up to 20 pages, so you have to keep it to 20 slides, but it automatically does it for you. So here it is uploaded. Here's all of the slides that I created. And then what you need to do now is color in each shape. So I'm going to choose white because that's the color of my shape. Like Ellie said, black and white is kind of easy to match. I've done yellow and red. It took me a little bit of time, but I did get the color match. So what you're going to do is you're going to color in your shapes. Oh, that's not exactly white, but you'll get the idea. So I'm going to color in each shape. Ideally, you would have picked the correct white shade, but that's okay. So I'm going to color these in really fast. So then the students just see one solid shape. And then when your students go to do this in the directions, you would tell them to click the eraser. And for here, I told them to erase one of each shape. So they had to erase one of the hexagon, one of this middle shape, and then one of this shape. And that's what they use to build their sentences. So let's pretend that they erased this one, will you have? And that was their sentence starter. And then over here on the paper, they had to make a text box and they had to finish the sentence. And then for my higher kids, I asked them to add more details. Now, another thing I wanted to show you on Seesaw is sometimes these tools get a little bit in the way. If you click this button up here, it makes them hide and you just see what you want to work on. And the students can do that as well. And so there's a shortcut for that. I'm going to share the document on how to make these shortcuts in your activity directions. And then when you're ready to change color or change pencil, you just click this and your tools should come back. There we go. My internet wasn't doing so. So now the tools are back. So this is just another way that the students can actually be more engaged with the lesson and be more interactive rather than just having to read and to type. And we've definitely seen a little bit of an increase in engagement with these activities where they're actually doing more and moving and manipulating more rather than just reading and writing.
Or sometimes they'll record themselves like, that was so cool, I really like this. Yeah. Or sometimes we know some of our kids, we know what they like. So we've done things with like soccer balls, we've done things with, just different things. They're like, oh, we're so, it was so cool to see that, dinosaurs. It was so cool to see the soccer balls or whatever it is. But it just, makes it fun for them. It makes it fun for yourself. I will warn you, it becomes addictive. Once you start learning how to create these things and making them look, especially if you are a perfectionist, you might be like, okay, I want it to look like this and I want this color. But yeah, it does become, it becomes fun for you and it becomes fun for them. And it looks, you wind up with really good looking lessons. So, yeah. And then just making sure, like I said, just maximizing your tools, using all those record options, using all those voice places where you can put your voice into it. They want to hear you, they want to see you, as they're not, since you're not there every day or as much as we used to be. So use them. All those tools are there. And then like that first media one where Emily was showing you how to link that. I like to use it because you can link so many things. She had one where she had like 6 different links going on, and you can, record yourself, voice-wise. You can record yourself visually. Use Screencastify. Use, whatever you have, and then pop it into that one page that you would have to do on the Google Slides in order to connect back to Seesaw.
I'm going to put a link in the chat to the document where when you're adding your directions to your lessons, this document will show you the shortcuts that you need. So you can put like the pencil in there or the pen, or if you want them to hide, like what you need to type in the actual activity directions. So those visuals pop up. So I took a screenshot of it and I put it on a Google Doc. So this is the link. You just click on it and you'll get the Google Doc. So you have that ready for you. Did anyone have any questions or anything about anything they saw or any of the activities?
And if at any point, you think of something or you're wondering or want to know how to do something, you can email us. We've played around with a lot of the stuff. And if we don't know the answers, we'll figure it out and we'll let you know.
And all of our activities are on the school library. So when you go into Seesaw, everything that we've created, we automatically share to the district library. So ours are under 2nd grade. Sometimes if they extend to other grades, we'll click it off, but you could just look for our activities and you can take it and use it as is, or you can copy edit it and you can make it your own. If you want to add your own voice, if you want to change things, you would just make it as your own activity, but you can use ours as the base template. So, yeah.
You're welcome.
So, yeah, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you taking the time and for making also all of your activities available to the whole district and the libraries. That's really fantastic. So thank you. And this will be recorded, and this is recorded, and it'll be in the TechSlam YouTube playlist as well as the Seesaw YouTube playlist. So thanks everybody for coming, and have a nice afternoon.
Yeah, enjoy the sun.